So I'm going to preface my introductions just with a couple brief comments. I think, at least in my life, the adults that I know that have a sense of some level of success have had some individuals that they've really drawn upon for advice. On a personal level, and I can't understate or overstate this, I've always had an advisory board, right? So there are no shares, we don't have any kind of quarterly reports, but there have always been individuals in my life that I've turned to kind of help my direction. I think a lot of times when people look at somebody who's in a position of authority, there's an assumption that, you know, you were kind of born with a silver spoon. I tell everybody that'll listen to me, you know, I'm the first, my family came here in 1636, I think, my father's family. I'm the first born in with a college degree. I'm the first born with an advanced degree. You know, we were very much working class people, farmers, very blue collar, and come from very, very humble beginnings. And I can tell you 100%, I would not be in this position now if it were not from some people in my life when I was your age and beyond, who really directed me and really gave me tremendous advice and suggestions. And I think the two young men that are going to be speaking with us today are people that everybody would want on their board of directors. Even an old guy like me would be honored to have either Terrell or Rashan on my board of directors. I think they get it in a very big way. So I'll cut to introductions. Terrell, if you'll raise your hands, so they see you. Terrell J. Brown is the Chief Investment Officer and CEO of the Sports Marketing Division at Loyalty Alliance Incorporated. He's an experienced financial sports and marketing professional. His skills in financial analysis, corporate valuation, investments were honed at top-tier hedge funds, major management consulting firms, and rating agencies. Terrell founded and ran a boutique. First of all, he looks way too young for this kind of an introduction. But he founded and ran a boutique real estate brokerage firm and a sports marketing company before merging with Loyalty Alliance in 2018. He's a recipient of the 2019 Made Man Foundation Community Leadership Award and speaks nationally on numerous financial topics. He's former chairman of the Drew University NYC Alumni Club and was team MVP and captain of Drew's men's basketball team. Very passionate about investing, travel, and sports, but I would also say very passionate about sharing his life experience and trying to benefit others through his insights and his experience. Another individual that really I could say very similar things about, Rashan Prailow, is yeah, I didn't make you raise your hand because I figured when Terrell did, they knew, you know. Rashan is the founder of the Think Group Limited Liability Corporation. Rashan's an inspirational speaker, post-secondary education advocate, and public servant. Currently, he is a business professional and graduate student at the McDonough School of Business, which is associated with Georgetown, where he also is a full-time employee. When Rashan first decided to attend Camden County College, he dropped out during his first semester. When he gave it another try, he wound up on the president's list. After earning his associate degree in business administration from our fine institution, he went on to earn a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Pennsylvania, in parentheses, Ivy League, graduating with honors. Rashan interned at the White House in the Office of Management and Budget before serving in the Presidential Personnel Office during the Obama administration. So pretty impressive bios by every measure. And Jackie, I don't know if I'm turning it over to them or with Terrell or Rashan, I don't know who's going first or whether you're both coming up here, but at your pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rashan and Terrell.
I'm already mic'd, so I don't think I need a microphone either. I think I'll be fine.
They're just going to pull chairs up.
I think
They
I
want
can loud enough.
to. They want to be. You want to come over here? I can.
Yeah, that's fine.
You ain't carrying that, no man.
Yeah, my basketball days are over, by the way.
Yeah.
Mine started off with intro.
I don't even remember mine. That's how bad it is.
You want to start with your introduction? Or you want me to go? Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rashan, Prailow, as President Borton just mentioned. I am an alumni of Camden County College, as he mentioned. I graduated here in 2013, but my academic career started here in the spring of 2008, so it was a long time ago. So I turned 30 this year, so I know I have a very youthful look, but it's been some time since I walked the halls of Camden County and really benefited from all of the resources here and all of the great people here. President Borton wasn't here at the time I was a student here, but I'm happy to see a great leader such as himself take over this institution, this fine institution, as he mentioned, because it did transform my life. I'm from Camden, New Jersey, which is not too far from here. I was born and raised there with Terrell. My family went to East Camden Middle, Woodrow Wilson High School, and it was a tumultuous time, and somehow I ended up here in the spring of 2008 just trying to find myself as a 19-year-old young man. And at that time, I think that there was two things weighing against me when I registered here. One was that I bought into the stigma and the idea that this was like the 13th grade and that Camden County wasn't to be taken serious, and that I somehow failed because I ended up here and that school wasn't for me. So I dropped out after about 2 months. Just due to tardiness and absences, I just wasn't showing up, so I just stopped coming altogether. And went through some traumatic experiences in those 2 years following that. But I came back in the fall of 2010, and since then I've been enjoying the journey and enjoying how this institution has changed my life. And today I'm a graduate student at McDonough, studying finance. My interest is in public finance specifically, social entrepreneurship. But that's pretty much sums me up. We'll get into what I'm really here for, and I can talk about use all experience here. And hopefully I can share some of my experiences, and then that you can relate to those, and that you can also be a voice of empowerment like I'm trying to be for Camden County College and encourage other people to come here, because I'm sure you all have benefited from it as well.
I don't know how I'm gonna follow up that introduction, y'all. But first of all, I would like to thank the staff at Camden County College for putting this together. President Don Borden being an innovative leader, and I would like to thank you all as the students being here, because this is most important, and it shows us that you're serious about your life, and that's the most important thing. And because we, at this point, you being adults, are gonna be accountable for your future. Not so much your family, parents, or anyone else, or your friends, but you. So I'll give you, Rashan and I, we are cousins. We grew up since probably 2-3 years old in Camden, grew up in a public education system, and we graduated Woodrow Wilson in 2007. We both enrolled in Camden County, and just to put some context to it, the public education system, for the most part, it doesn't prepare people, and it doesn't matter the color, it truly doesn't prepare you, give you the skills in life. So what we was coming from a deficit at that point, so when we enrolled in Camden County, it was a great opportunity for us to develop the necessary skills and the fundamentals that we needed to then be able to go ahead and add value in life. So he went on to University of Pennsylvania, and I went to Drew, straight from Camden County, right? But we could never have done that had we didn't come from Camden County. So fast forward a little bit about me. I've been working on Wall Street now for 7 years. I worked at a few different investment firms, primarily as an analyst, looking at stocks, bonds, etc. Now I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Loyalty Alliance, Inc. This is my partner, Cindy Fields here. We run a diversified financial services company where we have sports and entertainment, marketing, where we help athletes and celebrities get endorsement deals. We have our insurance brokerage, our investment division, and then our wealth management division. But as Rashan specified, most importantly, why we here is to erase the stigma of community college and be able to give back and let you guys know that you can maximize your time here and take this to go anywhere in the world and do the things that you would like to do and achieve your dreams. So with kind of no further ado, we can probably get into it, talk about things, and maybe the education, maybe talk 20-30 minutes, and then open up Q&A.
Yeah, and also what we would like to do, as we're going back and forth and we're having dialogue, my hope is that we can have a dialogue with you all. I see someone in the back, I know right there. So hopefully we would like to engage you all and kind of make this like a back and forth conversation. We're not here to really be preachy. I do a lot of public speaking, usually to high school age students or young adults, but I think that you all are pretty much focused and understand what you want to do, so I'm not here to like rile anybody up. We want to just share some intimate information, some intimate experiences we had here, and also try to see how we all can build off of each other and help this institution continue to change lives. So with that being said, I think the first thing I would like to start with is pretty much a question for you all. Is like, why Camden County? I think if you listen to what Terrell said briefly, like we didn't really have any option, like we had to come here. And I'm not sure if that's the case for everyone in this space, but why Camden County, I think would be the question. And I'll answer it first for me, although I didn't have a choice. And then I'll let Terrell go after that, and then hopefully someone else will be able to add some insights why they chose this institution. I know for me, one thing that was really important to me is crazy to think, like even back then, over 10 years ago was student loan debt. I'm sure you all pay attention to the student loan crisis that we're all facing right now, which is probably like the second most important issue in our country behind global warming and environmentalism. But for me, it was a situation where coming from a public school education system, I'm not going to blame the system too much. I will take some responsibility of not being focused. I had hoop dreams. I wanted to play football. Obviously, that wasn't a reality for me. I'm super undersized. So I never tapped into my intellectual ability. But coming here allowed me to have a safe space. And to be very candid, Camden at that time was a lot more hostile than it is now. I think that things have changed a bit for the better in terms of the violence and just the energy that consumed the city at that time. And we were coming up in that, unfortunately. And for me, just being here allowed me to have a safe space away from home, away from my environment, where I can actually spend time to figure out who I was. Because I spent 18, 19 years of my life adapting to my environment and not really understanding what Rashan Prailow likes. Like, what makes me happy? What do I really want to do in life? I was just adjusting and adapting to everything around me. I see athletes on TV that are only successful people that look like young black men doing anything productive. I need to try to do that. This is prior to the Barack Obama days. He came when I was already an adult. But for me, it was just trying to figure out who I was, and being here enabled me to have a supportive system and resources. I learned how to like type on the keyboard at Camden County, and basic things I really didn't know how to do at 18 and 19 years old. And it wasn't because I lacked the ability, I just lacked the opportunity, I lacked the access. So that's pretty much why I chose Camden County, was to get away from the environment that I was stuck in, and I seen no other options or no other outlets for myself.
Interesting, you learn a lot about people by listening. So, and a little bit why I kind of chose Camden County or merged in, right? I graduated in 2007. I was a pretty decent basketball player. And I went to Edward Waters, Gainesville, it was in Gainesville, Florida, and I was ineligible to play. I graduated high school with like a 1.0. And I was ineligible. And so I'm in Gainesville, Florida, it's 2007. It's extremely hot, everybody has dreads, and I'm wearing some Rockefeller jeans and Air Force Ones, and I said, get me back home as humanly quickly as possible. And there was I couldn't get into any other school, but Camden County was right there, right? And most people that had something if they was good at sports, they looked down on Camden County. But for me, it was like, okay, all right, what is it that I need to do to actually focus, right? To focus. I kind of lost the dream of playing basketball at that point, but I've always wanted to be successful. And I was like, well, this is the option for you right here. Me and my uncle had an honest and open and transparent conversation. These are your options right here, but if you do X, Y, and Z, you could end up doing X, Y, and Z. I said, okay, fine, that makes sense, right? And as I enrolled in Camden County, and then what it allowed me to do, I was extremely focused. I think I graduated, or I didn't graduate, I spent 2 years at Camden County, but I left with like 3.7 or 3.8 GPA. But school is not about ability, it's about responsibility. So if you do your homework, you go to class, the teachers, they give you a syllabus, or they give you a blueprint on what you need to do, you follow that, and if you do it, so as long as you have ability, but if you're not responsible, you probably won't go ahead and necessarily get those grades. So started to more, as Rashan said, channel and focus my energy and efforts on school and doing the things. So we took all the courses, reading, writing, math, etc. And we had to build basic skills, meaning like fundamentals. And I equate it to basketball all the time, maybe because I'm a former athlete. There's athletes that, most of the players that play in the NBA, they're all athletic, but the superstars have the fundamentals as well as sometimes the athleticism. So if you look at a guy like Steph Curry, he's not athletic at all, but he has the fundamentals. And you take other players that's athletic, he can kind of out-victimize them based on his fundamentals. And so that's what Camden County allowed me to do, give them fundamental skills, principles, and values to be able to transfer that skill set on and go to a Drew University. And then I think my natural just ambition and natural skill set allowed me to go from there. But it was a time where it let me develop even as a young man. I think I even went to a 4-year institution. Some of the things being away from home, some of the freedom at Camden County, things I thought I was more immature than I actually thought I was. So it helped me build up, some mental discipline, give feedback from professors, because now you're an adult, people start treating you like an adult rather as opposed to being a kid or a good sports player and having some of those things. So that's what Camden County was, going from high school to that Division I, as they say one and done, as the athletes do, that development year or two, and then transferring, which I would equate to Drew as the NBA. It was a great foundation, and it changed my life, because if I didn't do that, I would not be sitting here in front of you today. So I am truly grateful for this great institution.
And I'm gonna piggyback off that, so I'm gonna come back to the original question. Does anybody want to share why Camden County? And you can speak to the cost savings, but why specifically this space? Because there's a ton of colleges and universities in New Jersey, and I seen the 3 tenets when I pulled up in a parking lot. It was dream, learn, inspire. Am I saying it correctly?
Dream and prosper.
Prosper. So with those 3 things in mind, I rode up and I thought, like, man, I was able to actually live out those 3 tenets that Camden County represents. But at the time, this wasn't my dream, right? Like, and I think that we all deal with societal pressure, whether it's from family, friends, or just the culture around us. So why Camden County? And can anyone share intimately why this space was the best option for them? And how do they feel about being in this space? Are you maximizing your opportunity, and are you still dreaming, right? Like, although this might not be your dream scenario, is the dream still alive? And are you gonna take what you're doing to the next level? Is that the hope? So anybody want to share? And I'm trying to create a communicative atmosphere, so it don't seem like we're just being long-winded up here talking back and forth. So does anybody want to share? Please.
So I guess I don't know what I consider. I mean, I'm 30, so I'm kind of like a returning student. I went in the workforce for the first 10 years of my life. I said, okay, I'll just work at a job and just kind of work myself up there, and I'll, be at that 6 figures, what everybody ultimately wants.
Right.
It didn't work out like that whatsoever. Every job I did, I was able to do, but I didn't get anywhere doing it. So I felt going to Camden County and finding Camden. I've tried going to a few different schools. When I lived down in Winter Park, Florida, Valencia Community College. My family was from Levittown, so I went to Bucks County, or at least I registered for Bucks County Community College. And then I finally ended up here living in Haddon Township. And I noticed, compared to the other 2 community colleges, and even being in the workforce, what they're able to provide you. I think you were kind of referencing it to an extent. It's a lot different than high school, and I'm glad that I had that transition and I didn't go over from high school to college, because I can really see, and I noticed from the professors, that it's not about holding their hand and helping them forward or telling them this is what's going to be on the test or this is what you're looking to become. You're by yourself, you're individual and you're independent, and you are no one and everyone at the same time in this community college. And for me, I noticed, because I'm part of the honors program also, the tools that they give you, at least at Camden County Community College, and the opportunities that are available, everything under the sun you can get at this college. And even the honors program, they help you transfer. I'm looking to transfer into Rutgers afterwards. And the admissions counselors and everybody that I've worked with, the professors, my honors professors, my teachers, all have helped build and given me opportunities and advice as to what I best can become. Because like I said, I'm getting older, so what am I supposed to do with my life? And I really am happy that I landed in Camden, because I feel like it really gave me at least a clearer vision and a path of how I can succeed at whatever it is that I want to do.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. I guess I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, I would like to talk a little bit about, I know we all shy in here, right? But I would like to talk most important about how you actually can maximize your time here at Camden County. He just mentioned some of the different things, right? The different tools and resources. So when we were here at Camden County, what I don't think people actually realize is I didn't maximize Camden County in all the different resources. They have so many different programs. So first of all, I'll give you a quick blueprint, what I use to primarily get that 3.7, 3.8, right? That might be helpful to some of y'all here, because if you want to go ahead and have aspirations of transferring, they're gonna look at that transcript. And so just a quick formula, what I would do in school, I would never miss the class, right? I would take notes, I did all my homework, and I would go to have different tutors, right? Have different groups and tutors, as well as tutors. And then, most important, I would talk to the professor. I would spend as many office hours as possible with the professor, because they're going to tell you exactly what you need to do. I would ask the professor, each professor, what is it that I need to do to get an A in your class? And they'll say X, Y, and Z, and I would do X, Y, and Z. And anytime there was a quiz or a test, I would ask them and go and speak to them after, right? And you get that direct feedback, and I do that in terms of what comes. So that's a proven system in a way how you can get all A's. And if y'all don't care about all A's mean you get paid. Once you get all A's and go in the workforce, that's going to be equate to your salary. Because when employers are looking to hire, the first thing they're going to look at your GPA, what's your school as well as your GPA. And the competition in this digital age is vast. You come from a community college, and then you may go to transfer somewhere. Even for me, when I was at Drew is a great institution. However, when the employers on Wall Street, when they're looking at my background as opposed to kids to Harvard, Harvard, Princeton, Yale, UPenn, they're saying, well, what can you offer me? Why am I going to select you as opposed to that other individual? And I say you have to kind of look at it. And it was interesting. So I wish I'd actually maximized, number one, the professors, but all of the additional resources that they have so many different programs. I didn't even know. I love investing, but I think Camden County has something about money management, investing. You can learn about stocks. You can learn about bonds. They have additional workshops in regards to financial literacy, about credit, all those different things that you can truly maximize here, right at this institution. And then in regards to the financial piece, I know free, I think here now, under $65,000, you go to school for free. Like, you have no bills, you're living with your parents for the most part, you're going to school for free, and you can learn as much as possible here, and they may have additional even job opportunities right here in Camden County. And you can probably become a tutor or something yourself and mentor or tutor other students, and you can get paid and compensated for it. So those are just some of the things, how I think, or how I know you can maximize.
So I want to weigh in because I'm the guy that's now doing hire.
Yep.
I've been doing that.
Okay.
So I see it through two different lenses, and it's funny, I was just talking to my administrative assistants about GPA and how you start to triage that huge list of applicants. When I was in public school, principal and superintendent, second grade teacher, how many applications will we get for a second grade teacher position? Throw out a number, what do you think?
100?
Oh, well over 100, sometimes as many as 400. So some people got interviews because they knew somebody on the board or they knew me, and that got you in the door. But for those other people, the first thing we looked at was GPA. Because if we have 100 applicants, I might as well take the top 10 of the GPA group, right? That's the first kind of cutoff. How many of you played a sport? Because Terrell's talked about basketball. How many of you ever played Little League or soccer or anything? Sitting in the audience.
Oh, wow.
Because you're competing now in a sport. What's the aim? What do you want to do in a game?
Win.
You want to win. That's why you play. You play to win, really. And you're competing right now for that job. And I said I would share with my administrative assistants. We were talking about GPA with one of their sons, And when I was hired as a teacher, remember, years ago, the superintendent walked up to me. I'd been through some preliminary interviews. He had a stack of file folders, and he said, Donald Allen Board, I have 109 applications for this history position. And he threw them at me. They slid. I'm like, and he goes, why should I hire you? And I'll never forget that. And you have to understand that people are gonna ask you that question of your resume, of your performance, and of the person you bring to that process. You're competing now for whatever it is you want to do later on. And when you don't go to class, when you don't do your homework, when you don't pay attention, you're hurting your chances to be competitive.
And it's competitive digital space, so y'all heard it right from the horse's mouth, not me, the horse's mouth right
See, I'm glad you used the term now, because a lot of times when people describe you, Terrell, it's a different description.
Okay.
But to build on that, I just want to talk about time. I touched on time, strategy, techniques to be successful. I think I outdid you. I think I graduated with like a 3.9. I came to school after him, so he inspired me. So we can get to that later. Because we did start together, I dropped out, and that's another conversation. I didn't re-register until he was on his way to Drew already. But the time aspect, I would say if I can change anything about how I spent my time here, so I was working full time. I worked at Bancroft. Are any of y'all familiar with Bancroft? So I worked at Bancroft in Haddonfield. I started in Bancroft January 2011. Started here September 2010. So I was working full time, just trying to get some money, being a young adult. I think I was 21 at the time. But if there was one thing I could change, I would have spent more time here. Like, I did well academically, but like Terrell said, I didn't take advantage of a lot of the extracurriculars. I didn't take advantage of actually building a network of people that I can really build with. I did build strong relationships with my professors, and I know you spoke about that. I think relationships is key, because I'll push back a little bit on the GPA thing. That really is important, but I think that especially now in the job environment that you all are coming up in, like, standardized tests are not really respected as much as they once were. As well as the GPA thing, I think people realize that some people are just better at test taking. Some people are just better at certain classroom structures, right? Like, or requirements when it comes to test taking and just studying in general. But the relationships are key. If people know that you're capable and that you're dependable, most importantly, I think that'll still get you in a room with some folks. But overall, it's the time piece. I would spend more time here, less time working, because if you're not at a job that you truly love and that you want to do for the rest of your life, then that shouldn't be a priority over like what's taking place in here. And I knew I didn't want to work at Bancroft forever. I knew I didn't want to be in education at that level, but I was letting what I thought at that time was money fuel my ambition to go there and spend so much time there without actually taking a step back and taking care of everything here. And it still worked out, right? Like, I had a great GPA, and the GPA enabled me to be able to transfer to Penn when I graduated here, but that's what I would change when it comes to time. If you're at a job, we all have to hustle. Maybe you're working, and I wouldn't call it a dead-end job, but a job to get by for now. You should understand that job should come like not second but third to your studies and to your space here. Whether that's spending more time here with a tutor, or if you want to take time out to even like try to get on the president's agenda, or just do stuff that you never thought about that can go a long way, as opposed to like, I would see so many people when I was here go to class and they would like jet out of class and go to their job at like Best Buy or something. Then they'll come back complaining about class all the time, and then I went on ahead and transferred to Penn, and I started getting different experiences. And I would come back to the community, same dudes was at Best Buy, and I'm like, damn, I'm just so thankful that I focused and I locked in, and I believed in Camden County, because it enabled me to kind of take steps a lot of my peers didn't take. And there's no disrespect to anyone working at Best Buy. It's just that if you're going to be a student, like, be a student all the way. Like, be here for real and try to maximize the space to change your life, because it definitely paid dividends for me. I'm super thankful. So the time piece is really important to me. That's one thing I would change if I could come back and change my experience here, that I didn't spend enough time here.
Yeah, and I'll touch on that piece in regards to time, and then one which I really love, I think is the biggest thing that has helped me be successful. But time, in terms of time management, most importantly, you're now an adult, you have freedom probably that you never had. And as he said, you're like somebody as well as nobody at the same time. So, when you go home, manage your time effectively. I'm extremely disciplined, so I would go to school, come home, do this, and then do that, and so I wouldn't spend really that much time. Right? I was extremely focused here, right? I had a mission and an objective. This guy still outdid me working. So I never got a 4.0 in college ever. I think he did. But so that's in regards to time, on a time management side. But also the biggest thing, as what he'll probably say, your approach is the biggest thing. How you look at and how you view things, Camden County or anything in life. So being able to, okay, I'm gonna go to Camden County, I'm looking at this opportunity to maximize everything and all the different resources and stuff that's here. I think that's the biggest thing. And then I wanna talk about, really quickly, some of y'all may or may not know what you want to do. If I was back in Camden County, I'm like, I would actually change a lot of things, right? I think I was there from 2007 to 2009. We were in a recession. I didn't even know we was in a recession. I grew up so poor, we didn't even know. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm actually doing better. Like, yeah, like, but we were actually in a recession, and I'm looking at, once I transferred to Drew, some of the stocks, right, like JP Morgan, Bank of America, I think Valero, they were trading like $3, $4 a share. I don't understand, analyze companies, but I would have made a fortune at that time. But we're in the generation has changed, so y'all right now have different opportunities where even most of the stuff is online, the information is online and it's free. YouTube, Google, you can learn this stuff fast. So like cybersecurity, data analytics, esports, gaming, these are all industries where you can make a fortune, and nobody really knows industries have a competitive advantage, as well as social media and digital marketing. And right now this generation is spending between 12 and 15 hours on a mobile phone. So if you're even an entrepreneur, you can think about, if you're not selling a product or service on mobile, you're doing something wrong. That's where the generation is, right? As well as creating content. Everything you do, you need to have some type of content. And so those are just probably about 4 or 5 different industries. If you don't know what you want to get into, those are some that we're actually looking at, we're involved into right now, we may potentially be investing in.
Right, and I want to build on that social piece, but to kind of build on what I was speaking about earlier, so about the timepiece, but also in this digital age, like you mentioned, I would spend a lot more time here, and it's really exciting because being 30, like I'm still super young, but we were here like over 10 years ago. I didn't have an iPhone, right? Like a lot of things that I take for granted now didn't exist. Instagram wasn't around, and when I think about even like, I'm assuming you all are in the medical field. I don't want to assume you're nurses, maybe some dentists in here, things like that. But even like the space you all occupy with traveling nurses and all these things that I see people are doing now at 25, 26 years old, young women are traveling the world, making buku money, being speakers for different companies like Google. I know at Google DC, they brought in at least about 3 travel nurses since I've been going to their events in the last 4 months or so. And just thinking about the opportunity that people have now, we're still in the same space as you all, but I do feel like there's some sort of catching up that I have to do at times in terms of maximizing the digital space. But Camden County provides that. So nowadays, the economy is so open that you necessarily don't have to go and get the advanced degree if you don't want to. Everything is here, really. Whatever you want to learn is here for you to be able to build on that. And if you want to be entrepreneurial in your endeavors, you can actually come here, get all the tools you need for free, and be able to take yourself to that next level. I'm not sure how it works in the medical field. I know sometimes you need to go to graduate school and do different things. But the travel nurse piece really jumped out to me when you start talking about like the digital space and how people are maximizing it. And another thing I would speak to is that how do we, as current students, and we're alumni, how do we, because I'm a part of the student body, I believe here, I'm so passionate about coming back here, how do we maximize the space, how do we stay encouraged, and how do we encourage other people to come here, right? And not just use this as a stepping stone, like, okay, I'm just doing this to get by until I get to the big thing, like, this is the big thing. And how do we approach Camden County every day with that in mind? Like, this is the big thing. And I did do that in my studies here because I knew that if I couldn't master my studies here, there's no way I could survive going to Rutgers, Rowan, Temple, Penn, anywhere else. So that's something that I would really like to speak more about. Is how do we approach it? What is the approach here? And are you encouraging other people to come here? And that's what I'm passionate about, because I would be a fool to, not share the transformation that Camden County played in my life with other people, and I'm sure you all will do the same. So my thought is, what's the approach? Is the approach proactive? Is it exciting? Right? Like, how is the environment here? And we create environments. And one thing I learned when I got to Penn quickly, I did struggle academically, so there's going to be a leap, and I'm sure you can speak to that when you went to Drew from community college. But I struggled my first year academically, but the practices and fundamentals I learned here enabled me to have the will to keep going, and I ended up graduating honors out of the political science department. I was actually one of 2 African-American students to graduate honors from poli-sci that year, which was pretty exciting for me because I was a community college guy, right? So I always tried to bring that community college background with me everywhere I went, even if it made me uncomfortable, because I felt like that was the right thing to do, right? Like I would be doing a disservice to myself and to others. With that being said, when I was at Penn, one thing that was primarily different between Penn and Camden County was that the attitude that the students had, and not in a bad way. Everybody expected to be successful, and when I was here, that wasn't the case, right? It might have been like 3% of us were serious, and that's what I mean by the approach. And if everyone's not as serious around you, you guys are here probably because you were incentivized, but also you're paying attention. I appreciate you all being tapped in, but what are you doing to change the culture here and the atmosphere here?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I think is our responsibility as alumni, as current students. If you're maximizing the space and you're benefiting, how are you changing the culture around here and changing the attitude of the people
Yeah.
around here so we all can benefit from it?
Oh man, that's a big job. And if y'all can do that, I'll pay y'all
And it
direct.
takes one person.
No, truly, one person has, can change the entire dynamics. I think it's a few different things in terms of that, just because with this digital age, we're fighting for attention, right? People on the mobile phone, we're fighting for attention. As I was saying, if somebody told me, even in Camden County, that a guy from Wall Street as well as that worked in the White House is gonna come back and talk to me, I'm gonna be there, right? Because I care about my future. Me, personally, I care about my future. At the end of the day, you have to own your future. You have to take advantage of everything. I see everybody's here quiet. That's one of the other things also when we were coming up, and that just as young people. Ask a lot of questions. You have questions on your mind, don't be afraid. There's really no dumb question at all. You need to give answers. You need to work these things out. Because the sooner you work them out, the easier it is before you go to a job, because you're getting all these things, and other professionals, right? We want to come back and go ahead and inspire, because we've been in your same situation, and where we were afraid to actually ask these different questions. I think as a collective, we have to figure out how to market and promote it in a way that is actually the cool thing. Because people do what they think is cool first, and then they will go get the substance, so style and substance.
Saving money is cool. Because
And-
everybody
and- Save some money,
is cool.
so,
I know some
exactly,
people
saving
unhappy.
money is cool, and I'll
That
talk
wants
on
to
that,
be cool.
in terms of saving money, yes, you get to save a lot of money before you go somewhere else. Your parents might wanna come here, they don't wanna foot that bill for you right now, and if you go in regards to student loans, I'm gonna talk about the student loan piece. Student loans with the compound interest, whether they're paying between 6 and maybe 8%. Student loan is the only debt right now that you can't file for bankruptcy. And it's the second debt, largest debt in the entire United States after mortgage debt, and it's over $1 trillion+, right? So I'm even looking at some different investments in terms of that. So you're already ahead of the curve, in terms, Sallie Mae are publicly traded, Navient is publicly traded. So you can start looking at those companies right now. That's what I would do even at Camden County. I know all of our friends, and either the government, they have one of two things. They have to go ahead and figure out a solution for student loans, because you cannot file for bankruptcy. So unless the government's gonna give you a bailout, or you're still gonna be on the hook.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully,
Hopefully
I
they give
need
us a
the bailout.
bailout.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but
There's a conversation going on
if
right
they
now.
don't, I'm saying, if they don't, as someone that's still figuring out, my job is to make money for our clients. And Cindy makes sure she always cracks the whip and everything on me too, so, but that's our job. So, and only thing I'm doing is being able to turn a new light switch on, give you things so how you can look at stuff. Now, the more options that you have, the better. You can or cannot use it, that's up to you. But our job as a collective, that's why we're here, starting that process. And y'all, what you're doing here now, as you go, build the skills, because the person that has the skills as well as that's good with people in terms of say with the relationships, if you merge those two and you can actually get people inspired, people, those are the people that's gonna be the leaders of today as well as tomorrow. Those are the CEOs that actually, most CEOs' job is to manage people. You don't actually end up doing what you love, is to manage people and to get people to work together. And that's really a CEO's job. So you want to be a leader, figure out how to do those things. And you can start here by actually organizing and mobilizing people here at the community college.
Man.
Could I ask you guys a question? You talked
I need to
about
slow down for the
relationships.
sharing.
Yep.
Were there particular professors that you had relationships
Oh, yeah.
with that helped you move either to Penn or Drew or
Yep.
further on in your life? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for me, I'm still actually close to these folks. So for me, the two primary professors, I was a business student here, was Maria Aria in the business department, and Robert Hammond. Professor O'Neill was also a great guy that I've met toward my later years here. But those two, Professor Hammond and Professor Aria, were people that I met my first semester when I came back in the fall of 2010, and they both played a critical role in not only my academic development, but when I transferred to Penn, Professor Aria played a huge role in helping write my, my mission statement. She wrote a letter of recommendation. She did a whole bunch of things that I will forever be grateful for. She even visited me there my first year when I was at Penn. She came to campus, we went to lunch. I haven't talked to her in some time, maybe the last year and a half or so, but me and her have really remained close. And if it wasn't for people like that, my experience probably would have been a lot different here, because I felt like people cared. You know, when they took that extra second to stay with me after class, or they took that extra second to recommend me for a scholarship. I was getting free scholarships due to my GPA, so I was liking that. But they always made, time for me, and it goes back to that time piece, and just poured into me, whatever it was. And we even touched on personal life stuff.
Yeah.
They would talk to me about what my aspirations were, what I was trying to do post Camden County, and being inspired by Terrell. Like I said, he left to Drew when I was coming back here, so I was in a rush to get out of here, and they would slow me down all of the time, like, hey, slow down, take your time. And when I look back, it was God's timing, because if I would have left prematurely and not graduated here, I wouldn't have ended up at Penn. There would have been no White House. There would have been all these different experiences I got just from slowing down and taking my time, because I had good leaders behind me that were faculty here.
You talk about them making time for you, but
Yes.
you also have to make time for them, right?
Yes, most
Yeah.
importantly, yeah. Yep.
I'll touch it. It was Gary Dean Divins. He was the dean, I think, in Camden County. He and I still have a very close relationship to today. I would always go to his office before, just all the time, and bug him. And maybe this is just my personality. So someone once told me, if you want to get something done, call somebody in a position of power, because they're busy, and you have to really bug them. And only way they're going to respond if you're serious, right? They may take you serious, but if you develop a relationship, they see you as a serious individual. And so, but we just naturally, organically, I think our personalities, he's a straight, honest, open, transparent guy. So I would just always bug him. And then you could see other successful people, I was just always naturally curious. I want to know, how did they get to where they are today? So I asked him a lot of questions. What are you doing? What is your job? Just naturally interested in people in general. So he was one definitely at Camden County, one of as the dean. And then at Drew, it was some people in the administrative office or the EOF office. They gave us funding. I would talk to probably most of the staff there. I still have close relationships with all of them today. The president of Drew University at the time was a gentleman named Bob Weisbuck. We're great friends today. Most of these people I'm doing business with today, right? Because we built up that relationship as well as trust. And then there was a professor in the economics department. He runs the Wall Street program, Mark Tomjanovich. I just feel like I should have actually utilized him more, because he's a financial genius and he runs that Wall Street program. We still have a great relationship today. All these people I'm close with today, but they spent time, they gave me the time, but I respected their time every time, whatever their time. I would make sure I would be prepared and coming to them, whatever I was coming for. And then also, they gave me their time, and I was just truly grateful and interested in their stories. Like, not even for, sometimes I would just want to talk, like, wow, what are you doing? And seeing some of the other stuff, I was an entrepreneur, so I wanted to make money. Okay, I know this guy, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Terrell, stop. No, but that's just the value in regards to, I think, the relationships in general. Build those, because, as you said, we both went off and done different things. Even though we're cousins, we do different things. And you never know where someone is going to go and what they're going to be doing. Right? So build these relationships with the people that's here right now, because they will be, they say in college, these will be your lifelong friends.
I agree. So, yeah. Well said.
You want to open up to a Q&A? Maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can talk.
Okay, go.
I don't want to do that. So I'd much rather I'd much rather open it up because I've been speaking for like the last 5 years now, and sometimes it's frustrating, right? Because obviously I can try to sit here and talk about my experiences, he can do the same, but I really come out to learn as well, right? I'm sure you all heard the saying, to teach is to learn twice. I'm probably not older than everybody in here, but I'm sure I have a little bit of age on some folks. I'm sure that the dynamic is different here, and I like to engage in meaningful conversation, intellectual conversation, and I like to be challenged. You know, so I can't ask myself all of the questions that I experienced here because some things may be in the back of my memory, but if I'm pushed and, you know, and some questions are asked, I think we can have like some really fruitful conversation. There's no doubt in my mind that all of you here with y'all scrubs on are going to be super successful.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're talking to the group that needs it the most, but I'm sure that we all can build off of each other, so I definitely like to open it up. So any first question, anybody?
Yeah.
Who wants to take a lucky stab and ask anything? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
whatever it is.
why did I drop out? What was my GPA? Okay. Let's get to it.
Drop out.
Let's do it. Why did I drop out? So I graduated in 2007 with this man here. Man, I was super excited when I graduated high school. I actually left Wilson with a 1.1 GPA and like 97 missed days my senior year. So I definitely was not in a mental space to really be in a classroom. I had to think I was drinking the Kool-Aid. It's so frustrating to hear some of the young kids say school is not for me. And he mentioned basketball like practice. School is practice, man. Your brain is a muscle. For practice, you know, you can reach perfection. And I learned that later in life. So I didn't believe school was for me. I was doing horribly academically. Although in elementary school I was a good student, I think just the pressure of my community changed me when I got into like middle school, you know, trying to be cool, trying to find myself. So when I came here, it was more like, it's just something to do.
Yeah.
I knew I could get a free stipend check. You know, and it was like, hey man, let's just give this a shot. And when I got there, I went to the Camden campus in 2008. To be honest, I was a little discouraged because I was seeing people running around. People weren't taking it serious. I was like, why am I here? Like, why am I spending my time here? But I wasn't taking it serious either. So I stopped going for that reason. And it took for me to really be down and out to realize that Camden County was a place that could change my life. And to build on that, when I left here and I transferred to Penn, I applied to several schools, in-state and out-of-state, got accepted to all of them. And one of the benefits that I was able to gain from being here, which I didn't know when I started, was that when I was doing my transfer process, because I gained over 30 college credits, my high school transcripts were a non-factor. So no university looked at my college transcripts. And I didn't know that when I was going into it, but looking back, I knew it was just a blessing. So Drexel and all those schools, they didn't say, man, you were a horrible student your senior year in high school. All they seen was that I had 67 credits from Camden County College. I was crushing it. Obviously, they seen the 2008 failure I had, but from 2010 onward, the 3 years following that, it was really well. So I think that encouraged people as well to see that I failed early and I was able to turn it around. So I dropped out just due to the lack of confidence, you know, really for the most part.
On regards to the same thing with the transcript stuff, luckily they didn't see my high school transcript. I don't want to be sitting here today, but that's a blessing in disguise in regards to God. I'll talk about the dropping out piece. I think since I was a kid, I just always kind of had this confidence, right? Even going down. Nobody even believed it. I'll be doing it, but the number one thing is believe in yourself first. And just don't quit. Whatever it is, even if you fail, I don't care if you get a D, right? If you really love that, go ahead and keep working until you get an A. Never quit or never give up. And that's at the end of the day, I've always wanted to work on Wall Street. When I went to Camden County, and then when I transferred to Drew, that's why I went to Drew. Nobody taught me that stuff. I was reaching out to everybody trying to learn these things. But had I quit at that time, I would never be doing what I'm doing right now. So y'all have dreams, y'all have goals, y'all have those aspirations. But like you said, believe in yourself. And the more skills you build, you're going to get more confidence because your skills are going to increase. And stay the course no matter how long it takes for you to be successful and do what you really love. Any
Thank
other
you for
questions?
opening it up. Yeah, I mean, you're dropping out things not good.
Yeah, but you know, it happens. But like I said, sometimes you have to be there. Because I had the same experience, meaning that I knew, all right, if you either get focused and do this, or there's nothing else. And it's like, if you really want to be successful, sometimes some people need to be pushed to that point where it's like, there's nothing else for you, right? Not mommy, not daddy, not family, nothing. You have to go ahead and focus and buckle down and do what it takes. everybody operate differently. Some people, they, will crumble. Other people, they may not. It just really all depends on people's personality and life situation. That just helped both of us.
Anyone else?
Were your families supportive of the college thing?
Yeah, my mother, so I guess I could be, I'm not considering myself to be, I'm a first generation college student. But my mother went back to school and got her BA, I think a year or so before I came back to Camden County, so there was some motivation there. Obviously when you see your parents do things. And the support came from the fact that I lived rent-free. I didn't pay bills, I had my job, I spent my money frivolously, and I could just focus on school. The support was there, but I don't think that, I don't even think my family knew what I was trying to do or what was to come. And again, I think it's just the reality, man. I mean, at least in our community, Camden County get a bad rap. They really do, and people don't, so people would know I was in school, and even if I would tell people I was doing well, like, yeah, I got a 3.8, man, I'm crushing it. They're like, where you go? Go to Camden County. And the conversation would change, It wasn't until I got to Penn where people's eyes would light up and they would look at me as if my academic achievement meant something, And that's why I would always bring the community college thing back in there. Like, hey, look, I'm not a regular Penn kid, right? And that will always make people kind of, I guess, shell-shocked in a sense. Because I remember vividly when I was here, I spent 3 years here and 3 years at Penn, I would tell people and they would just be like, oh, you go to Camden County? And I would just see the vibe just wasn't the same, right? They didn't look at me as a person who could do things academically at a high level. I had to believe in myself, and I buckled down. And I would remember it, and I was like, I'm going to use what I have here to go to that next level. So I'm saying that to say I don't even think my family took me being here as serious as I probably did. They didn't know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, my family dynamic is a bit different. Same thing. My mom has always been very supportive, but they said they just don't know. Growing up, everybody, they don't know. But I have two older brothers. One was at North Carolina. One had a full scholarship in North Carolina as well as Tulane. So they were in college and extremely successful guys that was supposed to go and play in the NFL. And I'm kind of sitting there. I thought they were going to be in the NFL even before I went to Camden County. I'm sitting there like, oh wow, they didn't make the NFL. Like, life is serious. Like, I have to do something. Like, and when that happened, that was another thing that kind of gave me extra motivation. But you just don't pay you any attention in that regard. But it's like no way, it's not negative or it's not necessarily positive. It's the thing that you have to do whatever you have to do because now you're an adult and if you're at least not going to school while you're living rent free, you're going to end up having to start paying bills eventually. And while there, as he said, we would be in conversation with people, just I think the negative stigma, not just in Camden County, but not valuing education and the importance of education and not knowing. And so due to that ignorance, I've been always a guy, I'm very secretive, I'm extremely private. So I would never go far into detail, what are you doing in Camden County, or tell people my dreams and things, because I know people sometimes, they may either steal them, may not care, etc. And so after I would say, okay, yeah, I'm in Camden County, and most people would just ask me a question, because they know I was good at basketball. What school are you going to? What school are you going to transfer to? So it's a different kind of question with me. Or when you transfer, when you turn kind of, all right, is he going to go continue to be successful in sports? Or is he going to kind of fall off at that point? And they just had to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. So family was very supportive.
I would say they didn't pay me any attention. It wasn't like, like they didn't care one way or another. Like it was like this situation. They're self-absorbed in what they have going on. They were not supportive, but it's like, you're an adult now, you have to focus.
But I think that what people would appreciate, I know my parents, my mother specifically, was that it was free. I actually was getting paid to come here, and I had a job, which was pretty cool. So, that was always good to get a check, and that incentivized me to do well too. I felt guilty, like, man, I'm gonna probably spend money on sneakers and BS, but at least I'm getting straight A's, and for me, it was the payoff. It was like the perfect storm. When President Obama became the president in 2008 when he was sworn, 2009 when he was sworn in, I started in 2010. It was some type of policy they had in place depending on your income. You basically in free education. Even back then, they were trying to do different things at the federal level. So for me, it was pretty cool. So the family knew that I was getting a free education. They loved that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and the thing you mentioned on a refund check, he would always tell me before he does something, getting his money a refund check, and I didn't know how to do all that stuff. I'm like, now I'm focused on, so yeah, I probably got like maybe 1,000 or 2. Luckily, I didn't get too much money. I wouldn't be sitting here right now, probably. But yeah, but that's another thing. You get those refund checks, which is like, it is a lifesaver. You get those couple $1,000.
And scholarships.
You get scholarships. You get to pay for books. I remember that money I paid for.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, he had more money than me, but I was at least paying for books. You don't have to ask your family for money all the time during that period, as you are a young adult and you're trying to figure things out. And I think it's speaking of part, it had been a way. It still allowed me to mature in a way that I didn't even, some of the things I didn't even realize in aspects and ways of my life. And I was more immature than I actually thought. But growing up and doing that, kind of being on your own a little bit, you're not getting that support from your mom and them helping you out. So, yeah, that's kind of my piece.
I guess working for the higher GPA, did you notice more scholarship and internship opportunities presenting themselves to you instead of you chasing them down? Like obtaining the higher GPA, does it kind of open the door to the scholarship and internship opportunities?
Yeah, most definitely. I know when I was here my last 2 years, Professor Ari, I used to get this TD Bank, I forget the title of the scholarship. It's like an academic enrichment scholarship that TD Bank would give out. You needed like a 3.5 or something and some other credentials. So I always got that scholarship. And transferring. The GPA, it did matter. When I was speaking about the GPA thing and not getting so wrapped up into that, I was speaking more about jobs. But with school in this academic space, the GPA is gold. So my GPA allowed me to get into every school I wanted to go to. I got accepted to Drexel, Rutgers, Penn, Morehouse. I was applying to a lot of schools because I was trying to find the right deal in terms of the cost. So yeah, it changed my life. It was definitely a game changer. So it put me in control. It gave me options.
Yeah, and I would touch on that as well, as he just specified. That GPA for me was the gold standard. As soon as people would see the GPA, they were willing to talk to me, willing to, hey, we have this opportunity. They gave me for the scholarship funding even when I transferred into Drew, because we now had a different conversation and dialogue. It wasn't until one in regards to credibility. Are we taking you? It's now, right, you're accepted, but how can we make this work? What are all the things that you need to make this work? And it's like we both want each other rather than, I need them situation. And that was the beauty. I love it. That's why I'm always even, higher your GPA. So, okay, great.
Yeah.
It definitely works for me. And I will use it. Hey, so I know I have a 3.8 GPA. I have options.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to the statement about working and having school as a priority. Some of the students that I work with were parents when they graduated high school, right? Some of the students I'm working with have already had chemotherapy and major surgeries for cancer. And they're young, like still teens. So what would your advice be for students that just seem to have so much stacked up against them, yet they still want this? Reality is really challenging for them. What would you suggest?
Man, that's tough. I
It's
mean,
deep,
being a parent, a young parent, is tough. But I think that first and foremost, it depends how bad you want it. I think you have to have a focus, and it goes back to time. I think we all have time in some way, shape, or form to do what we prioritize. So you may not be able to be a full-time student like I was, but you could be a part-time student. Maybe take 2 classes in semester 1. But if your goal is to get that degree, you have to prioritize that. We come from environments where we see young mothers all the time, and they make time to do other stuff still, although they have children. I may see them at the club, right? I may see them here. So seriously, so I think that we have to realize that. And I paid a lot of sacrifice when I was here. I missed out a lot of my social life when I was here. I was working full-time overnight at Bancroft on weekends, and I would come here, but that was the decision I had to make, and it paid dividends. I think sometimes we have to let young people know that there is some trade-off. I missed a lot of my social time. I came here when I was 21, which is party time.
Yeah.
So from 21 to 24, when I was transitioning to the University of Pennsylvania, I didn't really have much of a social life. So there is trade-offs, and unfortunately we have to go through those tough times.
I I mean, I have really no social life, probably still that way, but very limited. But however, I think that's what he said, prioritize, and that person realizing that, okay, this is where I'm at, but really utilizing the, and not being, don't be embarrassed of your situation. Your situation is your situation, right? Now you have to make the changes, but utilize the resources here, right? Make this your family, make this your community. You have a lot of different resources here, and then turn that and be a champion for somebody else, to go ahead and inspire somebody else to do something different, right? And because this is a family, there are resources here between the staff, other people that want to help you, right? Because we all have other families that's going through the same thing. So now if you are serious, you are focusing, you prioritize, stop going to the club. Stop spending time on the phone. Stop spending time with friends. Get that extra education. Go reach out. Get the mental health counseling that you need. There's probably some other free course here online. Go do these things. Make yourself accountable, right? And then figure out, build a team around you, that supporting cast. Because either one of us wouldn't have been able to be where we are. Nobody's successful, as President Board had mentioned. Have that advisory council, people that's already been through what you're going through. Right? Join different organizations that's here around. Maybe a sorority, a fraternity, go to whether it's a mosque, church, whatever, right? Whatever that is, or the temple, go do those things because they have these support casts. And the biggest thing, you need a team. And so that may be your team. You want to win a championship in anything, you need some type of team and build that team, right? But first, it starts with here in your mind and you being accountable.
And that's a challenging student body with folks that are dealing with illnesses and young parents.
Yeah.
So I can't really speak directly to those people. I would look at people who are exactly in your situation, who've done what you're trying to do. I think that's always an easy way to learn. I'm sure we all can Google some young parents, whether it's female or male, who have had their backs against the wall, living out of shelters and transformed their lives. I mean, it's happened. I know it's happened. I'm making it up, but I'm sure it's happened somewhere. So I think you just have to identify people who are in your exact situation and see how they were able to persevere and use that as motivation.
Yeah, let me.
I am sensitive to people
No,
who
I'm
have difficult
I'm very
situations.
sensitive to that, right? And extremely sensitive because you have an abnormal situation. So you have to have an abnormal approach if you want to go ahead and still have that same success. Like my biggest thing, I think, like, motivator is this burning desire that I have inside to be somebody. It's the only reason why I'm sitting here in front of you today. So whether I went to Camden County or somewhere else, and that person has to have that burning desire internally to be somebody. So you're gonna push yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and do whatever it takes. Especially, I always think about my future. I think about my family, right? When you want to quit, think about your family, think about your spouse, think about your kids, think about your situation. And as you go do that, that gives you this unbelievable confidence and stuff that you will be able to overcome those things. And prayer truly changed things. So if you don't believe it, definitely try it.
I just want to add, I think a lot of times people think, I gotta work to get to a certain spot. Let me tell you, when you get to that spot, you still have to work. So all those lessons, that self-discipline you guys talked about, building relationships that can support you in your efforts, I feel very blessed to be in this to have this opportunity. If anybody had told me when I was your age, 30, that I'd be the president of Camden County, like that, right. And even younger, the response would have been significantly more pronounced. But it doesn't change what you have to do. You talked about go to every class. Well, go to work every day. Do every assignment. We still have assignments. They're just different. And a lot of times they're harder because they're now paying you to do these assignments. So all of these lessons that these young men are sharing with you are not just applying to your experience here at Camden County College. They're gonna follow you in everything you do. And honestly, that's part of it too, just embracing. I had a coach who used to, pardon my language, he said, you have to embrace the suck. Running sprints, we play basketball, you ran suicides, you ran 6.46s, you're in the weight room, it sucks. It's just brutal. If you've ever played football or wrestled, some of the things you have to do to prepare suck. But to some degree, you have to embrace that because those are the things, those are the processes that are going to open opportunities for you. And there are things about my job right now I have to embrace that truly suck. But that's just part of it, And I think everything they tell you, don't just think about it in terms of Camden County, or if you're transitioning to a four-year school or even graduate school, these are really life lessons. And they apply to all of us, because guess what? 1 in 4 of us are gonna get cancer if we haven't had it already. You're gonna lose people who you love. You're gonna have tragedy befall you, because that's just the nature of our existence, which is why faith and prayer and relationships and support is so important. But most important is that belief, that ability to persevere, keep going, because it doesn't necessarily get easier once you reach a certain place that you've kind of hoped for.
And I want to touch on 2 of those things. I want to, but at the end of the day, I want to be honest, life is unfair. That's just the reality. You have to do everything that you can to tip it over in your favor and have some type of competitive advantage in regards to that. And I'm going to equate the last thing to sports. Most people think once you make the NBA or NFL professional, everything is great. No, that's when the work actually starts. That's when you have to really work harder than you ever have. And as President Borden just mentioned, really learn to love and enjoy the process of whatever you are doing at that time. Because it doesn't get easier at all. You get better at it, you can maybe develop, and as Cindy and I, we always talk, she says, Terrell, this is kind of this part of it. I've learned to develop a system for everything to help you operate and doing what you want to do easier. Right? But life is unfair. But we still live in the land of opportunity here in America. I wouldn't want to live in Bangladesh and some of these other places. You can do anything you want to do here in America. And you can see with the last 2 presidents, Barack Obama and President Donald Trump, they was the 2 least likely candidates to win.
What's some advice you give somebody who has problems managing their money?
Oh, managing their money?
Yeah, like,
Call me.
How would you see fit for us to either open up one last question or wrap it up? And yeah, I'll let you kind of lead that next step in our discussion. And I hope that there were some good things taken away beside the food. I see some things empty. But yeah, you want to lead that?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up, and what I want you to do, I know, because as we have our day-to-day discussions, or at least on a weekly basis, if you could touch on a little bit about the importance of education, and you've been an education advocate.
Yeah, education is, I feel like I'm in a weird space because my message has shifted due to, the student loan debt crisis and all of these different things that's going on. I know the Harvard Business Review just put out some information saying that economists are projecting by 2021 for student loan debt, the cumulative student loan debt number to be 21 trillion. And I'm thinking about like what's going on around us in school. Unfortunately, has turned into like big business. Even folks in the medical field. I mean, you guys usually have the most debt when it comes to like school loans. And for me, it's like education is still the standard. I think we have to change how we operate education systems, and also we have to take advantage of these spaces. And that's why it was so important for me to come here today, and I was so excited because I think that now we're in a special time where the mindset is shifting and community college is starting to be at the forefront of where most students, even our most talented students, want to be. Because no one want to be saddled down with $70,000 in debt at 26, 27 years old. So I would say education is everything, man. I value it more than everything else. I value it more than the economy. I value it more than everything because it's true that people can't take it from you, but Martin Luther King once said it, that the true form of education basically teaches character as well as intellect, right? So like you're not coming here just to learn, you're actually becoming a better person. And me personally, I've developed as a human being through education. So that's my take on education, is that you don't come here just to learn, you don't come here just for a job, you come here to develop and grow as a person. We're all different races in here, we have different ethnicities. I went from here to Penn, I was around different people, I grew a worldly view, I learned to appreciate other people's struggles. I'm from the hood, and I learned that it's people that's not from the hood that got crazy lifestyle stories, or crazy life stories, and that have been through traumatic things. And for me, it was just an all-encompassing like human experience. And I think that's how I would define education. And I think more of us need to get into that social aspect of school, and really be curious and open-minded, not just about the book work, but about the people you're around.
Okay, good.
With that being
That's
said,
it.
thank you
Thank
all.
you.